Hello, it's Teacher Carrie here, and today I want to start a new series with you called Tea Time with Carrie. And in this video, I'm going to be spilling some tea about the things I wish I would have known before I started using ManyCam with a green screen in my VIPKID classroom. So no, this video has not been sponsored by ManyCam or by VIPKID, so hashtag not sponsored. And no, this video is not going to just be a promotional video for why I use ManyCam in my classroom. I actually really do want to tell you some important things that I wish I would have considered before I transitioned into using a green screen and ManyCam with my students. So let's jump into it with the first thing. It's really difficult if you're using a green screen and ManyCam to incorporate physical props into your teaching. So before I started using ManyCam, I had a prop for pretty much everything you could think of, like literally so many props everywhere, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to use ManyCam, is that I just wanted to get rid of some of those physical props and use more digital props. But I didn't really think that I was never going to be able to use physical props again. Now, I know there are some workarounds for this, but let me just show you what I'm talking about. So this is my VIPKID friend Dino, and in real life he's kind of like a banana yellow, but on this camera he looks so washed out. And the reason for that is that I need so much lighting coming at my green screen from all different directions that Dino just doesn't stand up to that lighting. And even just on my face, I have to apply a lot of makeup so that I don't look like a complete zombie, because my skin is very pale after having been inside, we'll say, for all of 2020. And then of course there are just some things that I probably should have recognized before I started using the green screen, but of course all of my green props really don't look that great on camera anymore because they're blending in with the green screen. Now this guy, he sort of looks cool. I don't mind the little pink outlines around his spots, but my little frog here, I gotta say, if I were to show that to my students, they might be frightened. Okay, so all of these little green props, I probably need to just find them a new home, because I can't have them as part of my classroom environment anymore. So I am using all digital props, which I love. I think it's super easy and fun to do. But I did not consider how much time that would add to my planning that is required before I teach each lesson. So I had always been a planner. I have, when I first started with VIPKID, I wrote a lesson card for each of the lessons that I teach, and things are crashing all around me. Sorry. I need to clean my teaching space, my physical teaching space. So I just got these little note card boxes. Again, you can see the washed outness of the lighting. And on each of these little note cards, I had just written what level, unit, lesson number, the name of the lesson, all on these little cards, which I can't show you because of the lighting situation with my green screen. Again, really difficult to use physical props. And then on the back side of each one of those cards, I had written what the lesson targets are, what the key vocabulary words are, maybe some sentence patterns, and then all of the physical props that I thought I would need for that lesson. And when I first started teaching, I did this religiously. I have them all the way from level 1 up to level 6 and all of my supplemental classes. So when I used to prep before teaching with ManyCam, I would just pull out my card. I didn't have to look at the actual VIPKID slides if I had already written a card for that. And then I would just gather all the props that I needed for that lesson, and I didn't have to preview the actual materials in VIPKID before I started teaching. But now with ManyCam, of course, all the props that I need are completely different, because there are some things that I have a digital version of that I didn't have a physical version of, so I wouldn't have written it on my card, or vice versa. I had a physical version, but maybe I haven't found a digital version yet. And honestly, the VIPKID curriculum has been changing rather frequently lately, and I haven't been able to keep up with all of the new curriculum changes. So to prep now, I have to go to each individual lesson and click through every single slide to see what kind of digital props I need. And of course, I'm getting faster and faster at doing that the more lessons that I teach, because if I found a cat for one lesson, of course I can use that cat in any other lesson that I'm teaching. And really it's about building my library of effects in ManyCam. But then you just have those kind of outlier lessons, like today I needed a dock. Well, I've never taught with a dock before, like a boat dock. So I had to go online and search for that dock. And each one maybe only takes me 30 seconds to a minute. But I'm using so many more props now than I were when I was using physical props that I'm spending sometimes close to an hour each night before I teach. So I'll prep it at night and then I teach early in the morning, usually from like 2 a.m. to about 5:30. I'm spending about an hour of my time preparing for each of my lessons, getting my green screen virtual background going, finding all the effects that I want, adding my name to the screen, making sure I have something set up for each of my students, which is usually around 6 back to back every day. So that, of course, is an hour of my time that I am not getting paid for. And before, when I was doing this physical card system with physical props, it maybe took me 20 minutes to prepare because I had spent a long enough time making cards for each one of those classes. Just every time I would get a class, I would spend 5 or 10 minutes making the card, but then that one card lasted me for the next 100 times that I taught that class. So I was really fast about I could just in the morning take 15, 20 minutes, pull out my cards for the day, and then pull out the props that were on those cards. So something I really wish I would have considered before I transitioned to using the green screen with ManyCam is how long it was going to take me to plan. And I personally, because I work from home with my other two jobs, VIPKID is actually my third job, I have the time to do that while I'm just sort of sitting around. I can go ahead and search for some images on Google and I just save them to my Google Drive sometimes, and then I can pull them into ManyCam. So it's not a problem for me. But if you're somebody who is also working 3 jobs and maybe they're not all in the house or as flexible of time, it can be more challenging to prepare for lessons. There is, of course, a trade-off with that. I could not do any preparation for any of my classes and just search live in class for the images I need. But I think that for me in particular would make me very nervous to teach, and I would be concerned about getting negative parent feedback because I really like to have all of my props just where I can hide and unhide them quickly in ManyCam, and then it really shows that I was well prepared for the lesson. And then I spend less time looking away from the student and class than if I were to have to go on Google and search for all the images or download them from ManyCam as I was teaching. So my two biggest takeaways are just about the prop usage, both physical and digital, how much extra time that takes, and how difficult it can be to integrate physical props into my classroom with my green screen background, and also how much time it takes me to prepare for teaching. Now, I don't want to scare you off with all of this, but I do want you to have a real perspective of what it's like to teach using ManyCam with a green screen if you're interested. And of course, feel free to reach out with any questions. I'm always happy to help. But obviously, I use ManyCam with a green screen because I think it makes my teaching better. I wouldn't keep doing it if I didn't think it was helping, and I've definitely seen an increase in my booking numbers with VIPKID and an increase in student engagement and also just parent feedback ratings after class. Everybody seems really impressed and engaged in the lessons, and that makes such a huge difference to me that I'm willing to spend that extra time searching for all of the digital effects and digital props that I need in class. I think it really helps my students understand the lessons better because I've gone from maybe being able to use 10 or 15 props to in each lesson, which I know is much more than what VIPKID requires. VIPKID only requires 3 props per class. But I was such a prop heavy teacher before that now I think I taught a lesson this morning where I must have had 30 or 35 props, digital props, of course, with ManyCam. And because I've taken the time to really prepare for each lesson well the night before, it turns out to be a much more successful lesson in class. But I definitely don't want you to go into it not understanding those sort of time constraints or time requirements while using ManyCam, or the fact that some of your things that you may have invested in your classroom before are just really not that useful anymore. Now, of course, I do have props that are not green that still show up just fine on camera. So my little fox can still be part of our lesson, but it's just really hard if you've got things that are sort of in the yellow or green color family to use them if you're using a green screen. So I hope I didn't scare you off. I think it's definitely worth it, but I do want you to kind of just be aware of some things that you might run into if you're using ManyCam with a green screen in your virtual classroom. I hope you have a great day teaching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!